Hey, my happy shiny puppies. This is Melody Fletcher, your go-to for everything law of attraction and reality creation. And today I've got a treat for you. What follows is an excerpt from one of our live Q&A calls where people just like you, students just like you, were able to ask me questions and I answered them. And today you're going to get one of those. And as you see in the coming weeks, we're going to be rolling out more and more of these. And if you'd like the chance to be a part of one of these Q&A calls for free, then stay to the end of the video and I'm going to tell you exactly how to do that. All right, I'll see you on the other side. Bye.
So the big question is this: how do we, those of us who feel deep down that we're much more powerful than we've been led to believe, and that there is something to this law of attraction stuff, actually create our own realities? What's the process of simply stepping into the reality of our choice? What about those of us who need this process to make logical, intellectual sense? My name is Melody Fletcher. You've got questions about the technology of reality, and I've got the answers. Welcome to my channel where the law of attraction finally makes some freaking sense.
Hi Melody, how you doing?
Good, sweetheart. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. I'm just curious about something. It's about activating the feeling of what we want. I only really have one sort of technique that I seem to kind of lean on when I really want to do that, when I want to consciously get a really good manifestation going. And that is just sitting, visualizing, and trying to get that really good feeling going, imagining it all in the hologram. And I know it's working when I get like a silly little smile on my face and everything feels really good. And then I just try and sit with that for as long as I can. But something that I've noticed has popped up in various LOA teachings here and there is this whole idea of the duration that you should do that for. And there's this thing about 17 seconds. And I've just always been curious about it. Like, I'm not that bothered by it, but it's always sort of, I've always been curious about it. Like, why 17? That's so random. And why does that pop up? And you know what I mean?
Well,
so it's a bit odd.
That comes from Abraham.
Yes. Yeah.
The 17 seconds thing comes from Abraham, where they say you have to do 17 seconds. And I think, I haven't listened to them in quite some time, but I think that at one point I heard them say that it was even shorter now. I've never gotten a message that said so and so many seconds. I think that it is situational and an individual, thing that has to be looked at for the individual. And so I basically have said, look, and I don't know about 17 seconds because I have certainly taken people through this process many, many, many times where after about 20 seconds, they stop and they stop just short of actually getting there because, that little bit of resistance comes up, that little bit of reluctance comes up where you're like, oh, and then you kind of go, this isn't working. And then you want to run away, right? Because you were just shy of coming that. And that doesn't happen at the 17-second mark. So if that was a universal measurement, then we would be able to reproduce that and measure that and see that every time, 17, 17, 17, 17, right? You pass the 17-second mark. It also depends on how pure the signal is, how much resistance you have as you focus on it. Because if you have no resistance, how often do you need to do it? Once. Boom, in, right? The reason why we repeat is because often we're still banging it into place a little bit. It gets a little bit more comfortable, a little bit more comfortable, a little bit more comfortable. Oh, now it's comfortable, right? And so then we do it as long as it takes, basically, to get to that really good feeling place, which is often more than 17 seconds. Yeah. But what you can see is within, and they don't say it's solved within 17 seconds. They basically, I'm going to use my language to explain what they say. Yeah. But they say it takes 17 seconds to get the progression really going. And that may be true or not. I have not received that message. I don't know. Yeah. I've certainly not seen that play out in something that I could measure, but I think that the underlying message is that we're talking about seconds, not hours, days, weeks, or months. Yeah. That this kind of work is really fast. That if you really start to surrender to a frequency and you really kind of go for it, yeah, within a few seconds, I usually say within 30 to 60 seconds, because that gives people aren't going to watch the clock so much, 30 to 60 seconds. And that's also my experience around where that happens. Yeah. Sometimes after 20 or 30 seconds, sometimes after about a minute. Yeah. But where that happens, where you get over that little hump and it starts to already feel better. And to me, that's the indication when you're like, oh, that's the indication you're building a positive progression. You just swapped into it and everything starts to open up. It gets easier and easier and better and better. It starts to build and build, and more ideas come in and more thoughts come in and memories come in that are positive. That's when you're building that progression. I think you can watch yourself do that. And it takes as long as it takes. Sometimes it's going to be real quick. Sometimes you're going to be sitting there for 45 minutes challenging yourself to, okay, this doesn't quite feel right. This doesn't quite feel right. Let me reshift. What do I want? What do I want? What do I want? What do I want? Yeah. Until you hit that frequency where then you really start building that positive progression. And so I kind of stay away from measurements like that because I don't think they're helpful.
Yeah, it's just always really confused me. And every time I do actively, consciously try and sit and get that really good feeling going, it's different every time. Like earlier I was just sitting and trying to get into that really good feeling place, and without sort of trying to force it, just sitting there. And my mind bounced around loads, and I started thinking about, instead of focusing on this one particular thing, I started going elsewhere and sort of having a play around. And I was like, oh, wait a minute, I have to go back here. And I think
as long as it feels good.
Yeah.
You can let that happen, because then you understand what's happening is you're getting lots of different representations. Yeah. You get on a good feeling frequency, and that just explodes. And you're like, oh, I could do this, and I could do this, and oh my gosh, and and all these ideas come in. That's when you're really popping. You got that frequency going, and lots of data is starting to come in. You see, the data doesn't just come in on the negative side. When you're exploring something, you sit with a negative feeling, you get more data. That happens on the positive side too, because all that is just building a progression, right? Bringing in more information, bringing in more representations, bringing in more evidence. You can do that on the positive side too. And that's why if you're in meditation or you're, just sitting and trying to feel good, and you have it when that shit starts happening. Yeah. When your mind just can't, it's instead of it looking for every negative thing, it's like going to every positive place. Yeah. And then you've made a shift when that happens. You just enjoy the shit out of that.
Yeah. Yeah. Sometimes I get into it really fast. And in fact, once or twice it's happened on its own. And I've just sort of found myself daydreaming. Next thing you know, I'm feeling all good and mushy inside, and I'm smiling, and I'm like, oh, holy crap, I'm actually doing it, But I think it's really fun. It's really fun. But I want to get more into a habit of being able to do that every day, just a little bit here and there, and play with it a bit. And obviously, like you've taught us, it's really good because then we'll see where our resistance is at as well. Mm-hmm. But yeah, the whole thing about that specific timestamp is just always sort of confused me, and I just thought it was really random. So it's good to hear that it's more about what feels right to you and however long it takes, That's
how I see it anyway. I mean, I can only give you, what I get and what I can pass on. But I never gave it much credence just because it didn't really resonate with me. And when I asked about it, the answers that I got was that that's too linear of a way of looking at it. And I'm sure, Abraham-Hicks and Abraham, they brought that through for a reason. And I think the underlying message of that is it really doesn't take long to do this. Yeah. Which, I'm happy to say as well. I just, to me, it's not helpful or empowering to lock people into a certain time frame, because especially with my crowd, maybe not everybody, but with my crowd, people will lock into that 17 seconds. And then if it hasn't happened by second 18, they're like, oh, I'm doing it wrong. And then they'll overthink it and they'll spiral instead of 30 to 60 seconds. How about you give it that long? How about, you microwave a burrito and you give it that long? Like, just relax a little bit and, don't be so hardcore about how much time it has to be. But I do like to tell people that, because if you're sitting there for 10 minutes, 20 minutes, and you're trying and nothing's happening, you need to stop. Like, you don't keep hammering on after it, because if it didn't happen within a couple of minutes and you saw no movement, didn't get worse, didn't get better, it's just the same, yeah, then it's not happening. You back off, do something else. Yeah. You're not going to get it to pop by just pushing forward. And so I think, there's a great message in the 17 seconds, which is, don't do this for like hours and hours and hours, as many people are want to do. Don't torture yourself. It's like you go in, you see if you get it to shift within, a minute or two. And if nothing happens, back away, because this is quick. Now, sometimes it takes several minutes, but something's happening the whole time. Yeah, so if you have an anger release that takes 10 minutes, you were doing stuff the whole time. Energy's moving the whole time. But if you go in and you get nothing happens within a minute or two, and you can't get any data, you can't get any more anything, you just can't get at it yet, you got to back away and let it come again. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. No, that's great. That makes a lot of sense to me. Yeah. Yeah. Because the idea of putting in these parameters doesn't make sense. I mean, because then you're just putting these kind of like weird restrictions on yourself to have things a certain way. And I think you've just got to go with how you feel. Right. So yeah. Yeah.
It works. It's so simple, isn't it? Why can't I just say that? Let's put that on a t-shirt and I can just retire. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, no, that's great. That's brilliant. Thank you. That was just my little point of curiosity that I wanted to ask. So
Good.
awesome.
Good. Well, thank you, Joe. That was a great question.
Cool.
Appreciate
Thank
it.
you, Melody.
Thank you
Cheers.
for playing.
Look at you. You made it all the way to the end of the video. Good for you. So if you'd like a chance to be part of these Q&A calls that we do for free, then all you have to do is get onto my email list. People on my email list get free gifts like this. In fact, I'll even give you another free gift for getting onto my email list, which changes periodically. So I'm not going to tell you what it is so that I can change it, but just check the description down below. Get onto my email list, get your valuable free gift, and you will be invited to take part of one of these Q&A calls yourself where you can ask me whatever you want. Sound like a good deal? I think so. So sign up now, get invited to a Q&A call, and get your own answers. Until then, enjoy the videos every week. Thank you for bringing your light to the world. Bye.